So this topic is going to be average speed and velocity. Now again, we'll talk about speed. Speed is a scalar. It has only a magnitude, doesn't have direction. Where velocity is a vector, it has a value and a direction. So how do you find the average speed? It's defined as the distance traveled divided by the time it took. Let's say you jumped on your bike to come to the class this morning. You decided you're going to exercise and use your 10-speed bicycle. You live 12 miles from the college. And it took you, I don't know, 24 minutes to get here. Notice I'm not paying attention to what we said in physics. We always like to see the speed in meters per second. We'll deal with that later. So what's your average speed? How many miles per minute did you cover here? If you simplify that, what are you going to have? 1/2 miles per minute. So your average speed was 1/2 mile per minute. Or you decide to drive to New York City. What are we going to use for a speed symbol for that? Should we use S for it? Or velocity, V, average? I can go. Well, V is velocity, so I'll use S for speed. Again, there's a difference between the two of them. I'll just use the average speed. Let's take another one. New York City is about 140 miles from us. And let's say it took you 3 hours and 20 minutes to get there. What's your average speed? That's 140 miles. How about time-wise? How many hours did it take you?
200 minutes.
If you can do it per minute, you can, or you can convert this to hours. 20 minutes is how many hours? It's a third, isn't it? So 3 1/3 hours.
The minutes is so much easier.
Well, you can, but fractions are fun. So let's divide them. That's 140 over 1 divided by that number. Well, that's what? Mixed number. Can I change it to improper fraction? 3 times 3, 9 plus 1, that's 10 over 3. When you have division, you keep the first one, change the operation to multiplication. What do you do with the second one? Flip it. The 0 cancels the 0. What's 3 times 14? 42 on the money. Miles per hour. So your average speed was 42 miles per hour. Does that mean you were driving 42 miles per hour the whole trip? No. I guarantee you, some spots you were going probably 70 miles per hour. You get to Hartford, you hit Hartford the busy hour, good luck. It might be 2 miles per hour. But if we clear the road for you, if the state police goes in, blocks everyone off the road, you're the only one on this road, and you set your cruise control at 42 miles per hour, you should be able to leave us and get to New York in 3 hours and 20 minutes. That's your average speed. Sometimes I'll use the same example I just used here. Let's say you're driving toward New York, but here's what happened. At the beginning, when you got in your car, you were cruising. You were going 50 miles per hour. It wasn't that bad. I shouldn't say cruising because that's not really that fast. But the traffic was moving okay. We didn't have any problems. You drove 20 miles going 50 miles per hour. Then you hit construction. This is construction here. They're working on the road. The traffic slows down to 20 miles per hour. And you drove on that road for the next 24 miles. What is your average speed? What is your average speed? Well, the average speed is what? It's the total distance traveled divided by what? The total time, right? We know the total distance traveled, which is what? 44 miles. But do we know how long how long it took to travel the 44 miles? Remember, distance is equal to what? Rate times time, right? Which means your time is equal to distance divided by the rate. So I can tell you how long it took us to go from here to here. What was the time? Right there. How long we were stuck right there? The time should be what? The distance traveled, which is what? 20 divided by 50. Which is what? 0.4 hours. What's 0.4 times 60? 24 minutes? I was there for 24 minutes on that road. What about the time to go from here to here? It's the distance traveled, 24, divided by 20. Is that a 1.2? You can try the math. Is it? So it took me 0.4 hours to go from here to there. It took me 1.2 hours to go from here to there. So what is my total time then? It's 44 divided by what? 1.6 hours. So my average speed is 44 divided by 1.6. 27.5 miles per hour. That's how fast I was going from here to there, my average speed. So we know what average speed. What is average velocity then? Give you a chance to write. Again, all these notes will be posted by 1 o'clock. What about average velocity? Instead of distance divided by time, it's actually displacement divided by time. So V average, average velocity. And a lot of times instead of the word average, we write this, V with the bar over it. That means average velocity. Is the displacement, which is x final minus x initial, I or O, it doesn't really matter, over the time, which is t final minus t initial. Usually my initial time is really 0. That's why my initial time. We started the experiment by saying start from now, that's your 0 time. So a lot of times this equation is looking like this, xf minus xi divided by t. And that's your average velocity. That's one of the physics equations we're going to be looking at. Except we don't like the way it looks there. It doesn't look pretty. Got to put some makeup on it, make it look nice. So what do we do here? We can multiply both sides of the equation by t to get rid of the fractions. So we'll say xf minus xi equals average velocity times time. And if I want to get rid of that xi from this side, what would I do? Not divide. Add it, right? Because when you have addition, subtraction, if you have subtractions, you add. Addition, you subtract. You divide when it's multiplication. So we're going to add xi to both sides. And this is the first, so there's 4 equations we're going to be looking at. This is one of them. It's xi plus v average times t. That is the first equation. This is really the same as this. It just looks different. Yes?
Are we going to like memorize those for the exam, or will you?
Don't worry, before we leave today, you'll have columns stuck in your head.
Okay.
We'll use them so many times, you'll know them. Okay. Let's take a sprinter. Somebody's going to run here. Usain Bolt, we'll use him. So Usain Bolt is going to run the 100 meter. Starts from here. This is 100 meter. I think he ran at like 9.64 seconds. You know, some sick number. So here on the 100 meter in 9.64 seconds. The world record still, I think, it's going to take a while before somebody breaks that number. What's his average speed? Remember, he starts from here. This is the 0 mark. They go on your mark. They fire the gun. And Usain Bolt ran 100 meters in 9.64 seconds. So his average speed is x final minus x initial divided by the time it took. which is 100 minus the 0 divided by 9.64. .4 roughly meters per second. In case you're wondering, that's about 23 miles per hour. That's how fast. If you go to the gym, you run on the treadmill. Most of us maybe will hit 7 if you're doing good. 7 miles per hour, 8 miles per hour. I'm at 5, 6, you know. I go, that's good, I'm doing good. But you see some good athletes, sometimes they go 10 miles per hour. That's 23 miles per hour. Yeah. Yeah, so you have an idea now how fast he was running there. Yeah. 23, yep. Now let's take another one. That's Hossein Bolt. That's you and I now. There's me. I decide I'm going to try that. So I run the 100 meters, and I'm exhausted that I start to walk back. And I walked back 10 meters back here. So I did the 100 meters, and I forgot to hit my stopwatch, and I started walking. I walked 10 meters back. And during that time, it took me time-wise, it took me 24 seconds. What is my average velocity? It's my x final minus my x initial divided by the time it took. Where's my x final in relation to that starting point? If this is my starting point, we call it 0. This is my ending point, my final. How far is that point from this point? 90. So 90 divided by 24 hours. My average velocity is 3.75 meters per second. So I was running at a speed of 8.4 miles per hour, average speed. Well, I mean average velocity. 8.4 miles per hour. That's still good. For me, that's excellent, if I can do that. So now we know the difference between average speed and average velocity.